Hello, everyone. Welcome to Writing Quest. My name is Brendan Pugh, and in today's episode, we are going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 1. Alright, so here we go, diving straight in. My initial thoughts on the Episode 1 of Book of Boba Fett is underwhelming, but excited. I don't know if you can be both of those two things, but that's what I feel. I finished the episode and I was kind of like, it's okay. It's whatever. It had some really cool visuals. It had some really cool, story beats and everything. But ultimately, this particular episode was very just the beginning of the story. It didn't really hook me. What really hooks me is the prospect of the whole series and the fact that I've grown up with Boba Fett as a Star Wars character for so long, as many of us have. And so the episode didn't hook me, but I'm still very excited for the series. It set up some cool things in the way of his character, but it didn't really set up, there was nothing in it that made me go, holy crap, I have to watch the next episode for sure. So let's get into a couple things I really did like. I really like how they're showing that he actually is a character. I feel like Boba Fett, as many of us probably feel, Boba Fett has always been one that's just not gotten the time he deserves. In the original trilogy, he was not really in anybody. They just used him as a character to hunt down Han Solo. And then in the prequel trilogy, they kind of tried to give him a backstory, but ultimately he wasn't the focus of anything. And so we kind of got this, you get a story of his father, you kind of get the tragedy that his father dies when he was young and all that stuff, but ultimately you don't really get any sort of anything about him. So what I really liked about this was that they were showing how he wants to be different from Jabba the Hutt and those that have come before him. But this is the first glimpse we really get into the actual psyche of the character of Boba Fett. The next thing is I really liked the visual of him sticking his hand out of the sand right next to the Sarlacc. I thought the visual of him being in the Sarlacc, while really gross, was super cool. What a cool kind of loop to bring the fans in on, something that they've been asking about, we've been talking about forever and ever and ever. I thought that was great. I really love how it pairs up so nicely with Patton Oswalt's description of the sequel trilogy way back in Parks and Rec when he does the filibuster. If you haven't ever seen that episode, you should totally check it out, because I would imagine, I haven't seen the confirmation of this, but I'm guessing that they ripped that totally from that scene because it's spot on and hilarious. So that was really cool. I love the visuals of that. It's fun to return to Jabba's palace and see the wake of Return of the Jedi. So in the beginning of the episode, you see Boba Fett in the bacta tank, and he's having these visions and flashbacks. To me, literally all that was a storytelling device so that they could tell the backstory. He wakes up at one point and he's like, the dreams are back. And, it's like, okay, why does that matter? So you've had a rough life and you are having bad dreams. While I like how Boba Fett was being portrayed, I also couldn't really connect with it. Basically this whole story was a plot-driven story of we're just telling you what happened and how he survived. There was no character reason for doing anything. This goes back to a really big part of storytelling that's really important, which is the internal conflict. I feel like I didn't see any internal conflict in this story. So there was nothing, everything that was happening was just a plot-based, he survives, this is how he survived, and now he's the leader, and this is, there's no reason for him to be doing anything, and everything that happens, none of it really matters. I don't know why it matters to the character, other than just pure survival. So I hope that's something that they address later on, some kind of, they figure out some way to make that matter to him. I would imagine they'll probably tie that back to something with his dad, Django, and the death of his father. And obviously there's a lot of history from the time that we see him in the Attack of the Clones and Clone Wars up to now. There's a whole lot of things there that they can unpack. I'm hoping, one rumor I saw was that they're going to be bringing back a lot of kind of OG original trilogy characters, possibly like a Donald Glover, possibly Donald Glover as Lando. That would be really cool. I hope that they kind of rectify this internal conflict thing, though, because it really did make the episode fall flat for me. The episode hooked me because of the nostalgia factor. You get to see all these places we've been before. You get to see Boba Fett, which is really cool. Big fan of Fennec Shand and Ming Na. I think she is great. The part where they're running across, doing the parkour across the buildings is super cool. But ultimately, like I've said in the beginning, the episode kind of falls flat for me because there's no reason for him to be doing what he's doing. At least I haven't showed that yet, other than just pure survival. So I hope that while I'm a Star Wars fan who loves nostalgia, that's one of the things I love most about the sequel trilogy, even though those ultimately didn't matter in those movies, are kind of not great at all. But anyways, I think the nostalgia is great. I hope they just don't rely solely on that. We are going to need some internal conflict from Boba Fett as to why he is doing what he is doing. Otherwise, this series is going to fall completely flat. I think that's one of the reasons that the MCU Disney Plus shows have been doing so well is because we've had those characters for so long now that we know their internal struggles and conflicts, and it makes sense as to why they end up doing what they're doing. So anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 1 of Book of Boba Fett. I'm really excited for the series as a whole. I just think that this particular episode fell flat. It's totally just a setup and the hook part of the series, but it didn't quite hook me. So, of course, I'm going to watch the whole thing, and I'm going to love it because I'm a Star Wars nerd, and that's just how that goes. But anyways, this has been Writing Quest. Thank you so much for watching. Put some comments down below. I'd love to discuss this further with people, and we hope to see you next time on Writing Quest. Huzzah!